Hello everyone, welcome to today's video. As you've seen, we are parked at Tacoma Narrows in Washington State in the United States, and we're going to take a quick hop over to Orcas Island. The whole flight is approximately 35 minutes long, and as you've seen, it's just very early in the morning. It's quite cold, so we just jumped into the aircraft, did our outside check, and let's get everything moving here. Okay, as we completed the outside check, we are now going to proceed with the pre-flight check inside of the cockpit. So let's pull out our checklist here and start with the first item. Seats adjusted and locked. Belt harnesses should be fastened. The parking brake should be set, which it is. Circuit breakers all in. Looks like all the circuit breakers are in. If one of them would have popped out in the meantime, there would be a right circle visible around them as an indication. Landing gear handle, it's down. Avionics off. Cowl flaps should be open. Let's check. We can pull them open like this. And the fuel selector, let's move them to the on position, just like that. And the left side as well. There you go. And the carburetor heat should be off. The handles are all the way to the top. That's the off position. The battery switch, let's put it on. Landing gear should be 3 green, and the alternators, which we switched them on as well. There you go. Okay, that's the pre-flight check completed. We now go ahead with the engine start checklist, and we start with the left engine first. So the magneto switches at first should be turned on. I'm going to do that on my yoke, but what you would do in real life is just open the covers here and just switch on the left magneto. The mixture rich, we can do that for both engines already, as we are going to start both. The propeller high RPM is set for both engines. Throttle ½ inch open. I'm going to do that as well. Prime as required, as we said. It's the first engine start of the day. It's quite cold and crisp outside, so I would suggest to prime the engine just a little bit. So let's do that. Left side primer. 1, 2, 3 should be enough. The fuel pump on for the left side. There we go. Fuel pressure is there. And we engage the left starter. That looks good. RPM should be around 1000. Yeah, just like that. Perfect. We turn off the pump again. Switch the magnetos to the right magnetos. Prime the engine on the right side. 2, 3, that's enough. And turn on the right pump. Right starter. There you go. 2 good starts. Looks good, sounds good. They're both stabilized around 1000 RPM. That's what we want. Put both magnetos on now. Turn off the right pump. Let's see the oil pressure. It's just at the beginning of the green arc. Usually when the oil is quite cold early in the morning at the first engine start, it should be at the upper end of the green arc or even the yellow area, as it's quite cold and stiff. It usually gives you a quite high indication. The ammeters checked. Suction, we don't have a gauge for that here. Fuel pumps off. And we can put on the avionics. Perfect. And let's turn on a little bit of the lights here, as it's still a little dark outside. Just like that. Okay. So for today, I show you quick the map as I did before. With our route of today, we're going to fly to Orcas Island via Bremerton National, Kilo Papa Whiskey Tango, and that's going to be our first waypoint, and there you see the rest of our route today. I'm just going to put that into the GPS real quick here, and then we can go ahead with our briefing. Okay, so that's our route here for today. It's a total of 89 nautical miles. And everything is just checked with our flight plan over here. The distances pretty much match up with what we have planned. We're going to climb to 6,500 feet. So let's do a quick departure briefing. So we are located here at the airfield. Let's show you the map here. Pretty much next to the control tower here. So on the apron next to the control tower, we are going to leave the apron via Bravo 3. Turn left on Alpha. At Alpha 4 we're going to do a run up, then line up runway 35 and depart to the north towards Papa Whiskey Tango. Perfect. So we just climbed right away to 6,500 feet. We don't have any airspace restrictions here. If we move a little bit to the west, we stay out of the Seattle area, and we can climb straight ahead. Okay, so before we start taxiing, let's read through the taxi checklist really quick. The parking brake goes off, just like that. The brakes, we can give it a little bit of thrust here. The aircraft starts moving, we tip the brakes a little bit. It's working perfectly fine. The cross feed is located down here. It's the most bottom position, I would say. I'm not going to do that right now because in the flight sim, unfortunately, I have to go through the off position and then it will cut my engines, and I'm not really looking forward to do so. The flight instruments. We check the turn indicator. The plane is banking. The ball is coming out of its neutral position. The HSI is turning, and the compass is turning as well. And that's that for the taxi checklist. So we go right here. We can see on the sign it's Bravo 3, just where we briefed it. Right is clear, left is clear. Okay, so here we are, Alpha 4, in our run-up area here. So we're going to pull out the run-up checklist, the parking brake. We should set it just for safety reasons. I would always keep my foot on the pedal and keep the brakes pressed. Cowl flaps are still open, fuel selectors are on, mixture is rich, prop high RPM, throttle 1500 RPM. Let's do so. Just like that, and then we can do the prop feather. Just like that, and on the left side. And we can increase now to 2000 RPM. Just like that, and perform the magneto check. Go to the left side. A small drop there. Let me zoom in there. Both magnetos go slightly up again. Right side, pretty much the same drop, so we are well on limits, and the magnetos are all working perfectly fine. The carburetor heat, usually you would get a small decrease in RPM there as well, but I'm not sure if that's simulated or not. Doesn't look like it. That's totally fine. The alternators, you can switch them on and off independently, but you don't have to. So the engine gauges are on the green. Annunciator panel, it's all clear, so that's good. Throttle back to 1000. So that's that. Let's do the flight control check. We look always out for that. Full left, full right. We should do the same thing on the right side. Full left, full right, as well as the elevator. Full up, full down. Flaps are checked in the first position. Radios are set. Doors and windows locked. Parking brake. Let's put it off again. But let's keep standing in the brakes for a bit as we read the takeoff checklist. Seatbelts fastened, fuel selectors are on. Trim, we just set that. Flaps checked it. Mixture is set, full rich. prop, high RPM, fuel pumps. Let's put them on here. There you go. And takeoff briefing, we completed that. Okay, so we're good to go. Transponder should have been turned on by this time. So we can slowly start to line up here. Put the transponder in the altitude mode. We can turn on the landing lights as well as the strobe lights. And we check if the approach sector of the runway is clear. Looks like it. Runway 35, that's where we wanted to go. Oops, little overturned it here. Just left me a line here on the runway. That's that. Okay, all set I would say. And if we're all ready, we can commence our takeoff roll here. Full throttle, power set, airspeed is alive, 60 knots, and rotate. Okay, I think that's sufficient to retract the gear. And you can really tell it's worth it to trim the aircraft before departure. It really helps with the rotation and the climb out. So we passed 1,000 feet. We can go on a slight left heading to our first waypoint here, which is 314. So let's set the heading buck roughly to there, I think, as well as our course. And we can retract the flaps. Always make sure the CDI on the GPS is turned to GPS if you want to follow your flight plan. Let's bring up the flight director here in the nav mode. That looks good to me. And it's a little bit bumpy. You can still hear that in the background. Some things are shaking around every time we hit some turbulence. That's really nice immersion as well. Okay, usually if I put on the autopilot there's like a small bump. Let's see. Autopilot on. Yep, that's what I mean. That's a little bit unrealistic, but that's just how it is. I think that's something we can live with. So we can read the after takeoff checklist. The gear's up, lights are out, flaps up. Cruise climb should be around 105 knots. That's where we are, so we can increase a little bit our climb rate here. Throttle should be at 25 inches. That's where we are at approximately, and we can reduce our RPM setting just a tiny bit. Perfectly. Fuel pumps, we can turn them off again. And we'll set the mixture, we'll decrease it just a tiny bit, and we'll go further ahead as soon as we reach the higher altitude. We'll monitor the engine temperature, and the cowl flaps will be open or closed in regard to that. So I'm just going to close them a little bit here, not completely, just halfway. Okay, that's it. So we just keep climbing to 6,500 feet and follow along our programmed route here.